The sound came first. Not the wind, not the snow. Something else. Something alive. Tommy pressed his face against the cold glass, his breath making small circles of fog that disappeared and returned with each exhale. 5 years old enough to know when his mother was scared, young enough to believe she could fix anything. The pounding shook the door frame, wood groaning, hinges protesting. 3 heavy strikes that made the Christmas lights above the counter flicker and die. "Mommy," Tommy whispered, his voice small, so small it barely crossed the 10 feet of linoleum between him and his mother. Annie Walsh stood frozen, baseball bat in her right hand, left hand reaching back, palm open, telling her son without words to stay where he was. The bat was old, Louisville Slugger, her father's. The wood worn smooth from decades of use before it became her only weapon. Through the frosted window, she could see them. Shapes, large, moving. Patches of color in the white chaos of the blizzard. Red, black, chrome catching what little moonlight penetrated the storm. Hell's Angels. 25 of them. Maybe more. The pounding came again. Harder this time. "Please," the voice came through the door. Deep, male, breaking. "They're dying out here. Please, 3 men down. 1 won't make it. Please." Annie's military training fought against her mother's instinct. Army combat medic, Iraq, 2009 to 2011. She knew triage. She knew dying. She knew the sound of a man who had run out of options. But she also knew her son stood 10 feet behind her with nowhere to run. "Mommy," Tommy said again. Louder this time. "The man is crying." "Quiet, baby." "But big men don't cry unless it's really bad." Annie looked at her son, Tommy's eyes wide. No fear there, just observation. Just the pure, untainted logic of a child who believed the world made sense. The temperature inside Betty's diner read 31 degrees. The ancient thermometer mounted above the kitchen pass-through hadn't moved in 3 hours. Outside, the mercury had dropped to 12. With wind chill, the weather service said it felt like 30 below. Annie Walsh had $9.47 in the register. 3 eggs in the refrigerator, 5 pounds of flour, half a bottle of cooking oil, no power, no heat, no way out. And now 25 strangers at her door. 25 dying strangers. Her mother's voice came to her then. Betty Walsh, gone 18 months. Cancer, fast and cruel. But her words remained. "Kindness ain't about who deserves it, Annie girl. It's about who you are." Annie took 3 steps forward. The bat still raised. Her hand found the deadbolt. Cold metal. She could feel her pulse in her fingertips. "You touch my son," she said through the door, "and you're dead. Understand?" Silence, then, "Yes, ma'am. God bless you. God bless you." Annie threw the bolt, turned the handle. The door exploded inward. 25 men poured into Betty's diner like water through a broken dam. Ice, leather, the smell of gasoline and cold and something else. Something copper. Blood. Tommy gasped but didn't scream. He stepped back. 1 step. 2. His small body finding the wall. His eyes tracking every movement. Counting, always counting. His mother had taught him that. Count the exits. Count the threats. Count the things you can control. The first man through was enormous. 6'5", maybe 240 pounds. Beard white with frost. Tears frozen on his weathered cheeks. He didn't look at Annie, didn't look at Tommy. He looked at his men and started giving orders. "Rico, Carlos, get Bear on that table now. Nina, triage, everyone else, give the lady space. Move." They moved. Military precision. No hesitation. 2 men dragged a third across the threshold. The third man wasn't walking, wasn't responding. His lips were blue-gray, his eyes rolled back. His breathing came in shallow, irregular gasps that sounded like a man drowning on dry land. Annie's training kicked in before her fear could stop her. She dropped the bat, moved forward, her hands already reaching. "Lay him flat," she ordered, her voice steady, combat medic voice. The voice that had seen worse, had saved more. "Head neutral. Someone get me blankets, anything warm." The big man turned to look at her, his eyes red, his face carved from granite in grief. "You military?" Medic, Iraq, 2 years. Something passed across his face. Relief, recognition, respect. Samuel Briggs, they call me Hammer. This is Victor Stone. We call him Bear. Annie knelt beside the unconscious man. Her fingers found his carotid artery. Pulse weak, thready, maybe 40 beats per minute. His skin ice cold. She pulled back his eyelid. Pupil sluggish. She put her ear to his chest, rails, fluid in the lungs. How long has he been like this? Hour, maybe more. Fell off his bike. Couldn't hold on. Hands wouldn't work. Annie looked at his hands, blue, swollen, the flesh waxy and stiff. Severe frostbite, maybe 3rd degree. She'd seen it before. Fallujah. January 2010, mortar strike. Private Garcia, same presentation. He'd lost 3 fingers. I need to know his core temperature, she said. You have a thermometer? A woman pushed through the crowd, 30-something, Hispanic, short dark hair, still wearing scrubs under her leather jacket. I'm Nina Rodriguez, trauma surgeon, Billings General. I've got a tympanic thermometer. She produced a small device from her medical bag, pointed it at Bear's ear, waited. The digital display blinked. 82.7 degrees Fahrenheit. Annie's stomach dropped. Normal human body temperature was 98.6. Mild hypothermia began at 95, moderate at 90, severe at 82. Bear was at the edge, 1 degree from cardiac arrest, 2 degrees from death. He's got maybe 90 minutes, Nina said, her voice professional, clinical. But Annie heard the tremor underneath. Without warming IV fluids, heated oxygen and antibiotics, he'll go into V-fib, then a systole, then nothing. I don't have any of that, Annie said. I don't have anything. Nina met her eyes. Then we improvise. Annie stood, looked at Hammer. I need everyone to stay calm. I need blankets. I need body heat. I need you to tell me what happened and how long you've been in the cold. Hammer nodded, started organizing. His voice carried authority. No panic, just commands. Clear, direct. The men responded instantly. Annie turned to find Tommy. He was still against the wall, still counting. His eyes moved from face to face, no fear, just curiosity. Tommy, she said, come here, baby. He crossed the room, didn't run, didn't hesitate. When he reached her, she knelt, put her hands on his small shoulders. These men need help, just like the people Mommy helped in Iraq. Can you be brave? Tommy nodded. Good boy, I need you to go to the back room. Stay there. If anything happens, you run out the back door. You run to Grandpa Harold's house. Remember the way? Yes, Mommy. Good, now go. But Tommy didn't move. His eyes found Bear, the dying man on the table, his small face serious, too serious for 5 years old. Mommy, that man looks like Grandma Betty did, before the ambulance came. Annie's heart cracked. Her mother, the last days, the gray skin, the shallow breathing, the knowing, yes, baby, he does. Are you going to save him? Annie looked at the man on the table. Victor Bear Stone, 44 years old, former Army Ranger, father, son, brother, dying on her diner table with nothing but expired antibiotics and prayer to save him. I'm going to try, she said. Tommy nodded, like that was enough, like his mother's word was gospel. Then he did something that stopped every person in the room. He walked to the table, reached up, put his small hand on Bear's cold forehead. Mister, Tommy whispered, can you hear me? Bear's eyes fluttered, not opening, not focusing, but movement, life. My name is Tommy. I'm 5. My daddy left me when I was 3. Annie moved to pull him back, but Hammer's hand stopped her. Gentle, but firm. Wait, his eyes said. Let him finish. Mommy says it's not my fault that Daddy left. She says grown-ups make choices, and sometimes the choices hurt, but it's not the kid's fault. Bear's breathing changed, still shallow, but steadier. His eyes moved beneath closed lids. I bet you got kids, Tommy continued, his voice soft, the way children speak to wounded animals. I bet they miss you. I miss my daddy sometimes, even though he left. Tears rolled down Bear's frozen cheeks. His lips moved. No sound came out, but Annie, kneeling close, could read them. Emma, baby girl, sorry. Well, Tommy leaned closer. It's okay, mister. When you wake up, you can call her. Tell her you love her. That's what I wish my daddy would do. The room was silent. 25 hardened men, combat veterans, motorcycle club members, outlaws, all staring at a 5-year-old child counseling a dying man about fatherhood and forgiveness. Hammer turned away, his shoulders shaking. Wade Carson, 52, Navy veteran, covered his face with his hands. Annie pulled Tommy back, held him. Good job, buddy. Real good job. Now go to the back room, please. This time Tommy went. Annie returned her attention to Bear. Nina was already working, checking vitals, assessing, making calculations. We need to warm him, Nina said. Slow and controlled. Too fast and we shock the heart. Core rewarming. We need hot water bottles, heating pads, body heat. I have hot water, Annie said. Gas water heater. Still working. Good. Fill every bottle you can find. We'll pack them around his torso. Neck, armpits, groin, the major vessels. We warm the core first. Extremities later. Annie ran, kitchen, grabbed every container, bowls, pus, old water bottles. She filled them from the tap, water scalding hot, wrapped them in dish towels, brought them back. Nina positioned them, careful, methodical. We need to elevate his legs, increase blood flow to the brain and heart. Someone give me jackets, blankets, anything. Men stripped off their leather jackets, club vests, layers. They piled them under Bear's legs, creating a slope, blood flowing back to where it mattered most. Antibiotics, Nina said. He's got fluid in his lungs, early pneumonia. Without antibiotics, it'll kill him even if we warm him up. Annie's stomach clenched. I don't have antibiotics. Nothing? No old prescriptions? Nothing? Annie hesitated. Her mother's bathroom, upstairs, unchanged since Betty died. 18 months of dust and memories and grief too heavy to face. My mother's medicine cabinet, Annie said quietly. Upstairs, she died a year and a half ago. I haven't cleaned it out. Show me. They climbed the narrow stairs. The second floor cold, colder than downstairs. Annie's breath visible. She led Nina to the small bathroom, opened the cabinet. Bottles, dozens of them, all with Betty Walsh's name, all expired. Nina scanned them, her fingers moving quickly. Amoxicillin, expired 11 months, prednisone, expired 14 months, hydrocodone, not useful. She grabbed the amoxicillin, checked the date, checked the dosage. This might work. It's almost a year expired. I know, antibiotics lose potency, maybe 20%, maybe more, but 20% of something is better than 100% of nothing. They returned downstairs. Nina crushed the pills, mixed them with water. I need to get this into him. He's not conscious. If he aspirates, we're done. Nasogastric tube, Annie suggested. Don't have one. We go rectal. Annie's eyebrows rose. Don't judge me, Nina said. It works. The rectum absorbs medications fast, almost as fast as IV. It's not pretty, but we're past pretty. 10 minutes later, the medication was in. Bear's core temperature was 83.1, rising slowly. His pulse was 43, his breathing still labored but regular. Now we wait, Nina said, and pray, and hope expired antibiotics and hot water bottles are enough. Annie stepped back, looked at the scene. Her diner, her mother's diner, transformed. 25 bikers, one dying man, a trauma surgeon working with expired medication and improvised equipment. Tommy in the back room, silent, waiting, trusting his mother to make this right. Hammer approached, his massive frame somehow gentle. Ma'am, I need to tell you what happened, why we're here. Annie nodded. Okay. We do toy runs every Christmas, sick kids in hospitals. This year, 600 kids at Billings General. Cancer, leukemia, burns, accidents. Kids who need to know someone gives a damn. His voice roughened. We loaded up yesterday, left Great Falls at 1400, 200 miles. Easy ride, except the storm hit. GPS went crazy. Roads disappeared. We ended up on back roads. Lost. He paused, swallowed. Bear's bike through a belt, 30 miles back. Temperature dropped. Wind picked up. We tried to fix it. Couldn't. Too cold. Hands wouldn't work. His hands went first. Then he couldn't hold on. Fell off, hit hard. How many places did you stop? Annie asked. Hammer's face darkened. 9 doors, 9 rejections. 9? Gas station, closed, motel, no vacancy sign, house, lights on, saw us, turned off the lights, ranch. Man came out with a shotgun, told us to move along. He stopped, his jaw working. Church, small one, white steeple. Pastor came to the door, looked at our patches, said God's house was full. Annie felt something cold settle in her chest, colder than in the storm, colder than the 31-degree air. You stopped at 9 places and everyone turned you away. Yes, ma'am. Even though you had a dying man. Yes, ma'am. Even though you told them. Yes, ma'am. Annie looked at these men, these 25 strangers, Hell's Angels, outlaws, the kind of people the world told her to fear, the kind of people who stopped for sick children, who rode through blizzards to deliver toys to kids in hospitals, who carried a dying brother for hours looking for help. You're the 10th door, Hammer said quietly. You didn't turn us away. You didn't see our patches. You saw human beings. Do you understand what that means? Annie didn't answer, couldn't. The weight of it too much. A new voice spoke. Ma'am, your electrical situation. Annie turned. A younger man stood there, late 20s, lean, quiet eyes, watching, always watching. Power's out, Annie said. Grid's down, transformer explosion. Montana Power said 48 hours minimum. Mind left to your system? Wait, Ma, I'm an electrical engineer, civilian side, and I owe you. You don't owe me anything. You gave your mother's last medicine to save a stranger. Yeah, I owe you. Annie gestured toward the basement. Knock yourself out. The young man nodded, disappeared through the basement door. For 30 minutes, sounds drifted up. Drilling, metal scraping, cursing, creative cursing, frustrated cursing, then silence, then light. The overhead fluorescence flickered. Once, twice, held. He stared, the other bikers stared. Light, after 3 hours of darkness. Light. The young man emerged, covered in dust, grease on his hands, cobwebs in his hair. Your junction box froze. Ice expanded, cracked the housing, shorted the safety. I bypassed it, pulled the alternator from my Harley, rigged a DC to AC converter from your water heater. You've got power, maybe 12 hours before the alternator burns out, and only pull 1,500 watts. Lights good, coffee pot good, everything else together, not good. Annie couldn't speak. This man, this stranger, had just sacrificed his motorcycle in a blizzard, miles from home, for her. Wait, bye, she managed. He shrugged. You gave your last medicine. I gave my last alternator. Seems fair. What's your name? Cole Bennett. They call me Phantom. Why Phantom? Cole looked away, something painful crossing his face. 14 foster homes before I aged out. Nobody saw me, nobody wanted to, so I learned to be invisible. Phantom. The club saw you. Yeah, first family I ever had. He walked away before Annie could respond. Moved to help with Bear. Quiet, efficient, invisible. Annie stood in her mother's diner, light overhead, 25 bikers organized around a dying man. A 5-year-old boy in the back room who had just counseled a stranger about forgiveness, and a growing understanding that everything she thought she knew about the world was wrong. The clock on the wall read 4:17 a.m., December 24th, Christmas Eve. The storm outside showed no signs of stopping. Ma'am, Hammer said, you got any food? Men haven't eaten since yesterday noon. Annie looked at him, looked at the kitchen, looked at her inventory. 5 pounds of flour, 3 eggs, half bottle of oil. I might have something, she said. She went to the kitchen, found her mother's recipe box, old, wooden, handmade by Annie's grandfather in 1947. Cards inside yellowed with age. Her mother's handwriting. Her grandmother's before that. She found the card she needed. Depression fritters. Written in pencil. 1934. Her grandmother's hand. A child's hand. 11 years old in the Dust Bowl, Oklahoma. A family of 7. A father who lost the farm. A mother who made something from nothing. The recipe was simple. Flour, eggs, pinch of sugar, mix, knead, fry, hope. Annie started mixing. Her hands moved on muscle memory. Betty had taught her. Betty's mother had taught Betty. 3 generations of women who knew what it meant to have nothing. Who knew what it meant to feed people anyway. The oil heated. She dropped spoonfuls of dough. They sizzled. The smell filled the diner. Yeast and sugar caramelizing. Hot oil and fresh bread. Home. One by one, the bikers woke. The ones not working on Bear. The ones who had collapsed in exhaustion. Their noses led them. Wade Carson, 52, Navy veteran, River Patrol boat, Mekong Delta, 1969 to 1971. He stood, followed the smell like a man in a trance. Jesus Christ, he whispered. Then looking at Tommy's closed door, sorry, gosh, that smell. Annie handed him a fritter on a paper napkin. All she had. He took a bite, closed his eyes, chewed slowly. When he opened his eyes, tears streamed down his weathered face. My mama, he said, his voice breaking. My mama made something like this. 1950s, when Daddy lost the factory job. We ate these for 6 months. Haven't had anything taste like home since she died in 1989. More men woke, more fritters served. 25 bikers eating flour and eggs and faith. 25 men tasting love for the first time in years, decades, maybe ever. Hammer took a bite, stopped, his massive frame going still. When he spoke, his voice was thick, choked. Ma'am, Mrs. Walsh, this is the finest thing I've eaten in 40 years. It's just flour and eggs, Annie said. No, ma'am, it's love. I know the difference. Been without it long enough to recognize it when I taste it. He set down the fritter, looked at her with eyes that had seen too much. Vietnam, loss, brotherhood, redemption. You know why we ride? He asked. Annie shook her head. Purpose. We're all broken, every one of us. Combat, abuse, addiction, abandonment. The club gave us purpose, gave us brothers, gave us something to protect. He gestured at the unconscious Bear. We ride for kids in hospitals because somebody's got to. We ride because we remember what it's like to be forgotten, to be invisible, to need help and have doors close. His voice dropped. Until tonight, I thought that's just how the world worked. Then you opened your door, and you reminded us of something we forgot. That good people still exist. That kindness ain't dead. That maybe, just maybe, we're worth saving after all. Annie's vision blurred. She turned away, started making more fritters. The only thing she could do. The only thing that made sense. By 5:30 a.m., Bear's temperature had risen to 85 degrees. His pulse was 50, his breathing regular. The antibiotics were working. The warming was working. Against all odds, he was stable. Nina checked him one more time, smiled, a real smile. He's going to make it. You saved his life with expired pills and determination. At 6 a.m., the storm broke. The wind stopped. Pale light crept through the frost-covered windows. Tommy emerged from the back room, rubbing his eyes, wearing his jacket, ready to brave the cold if needed. Mommy, is it over? Annie picked him up, held him. Yeah, baby, it's over. Did you save him? We saved him. Tommy looked at Bear, still unconscious, but breathing, living. Good. He needs to call his daughter. Hammer stood, stretched, walked to the window, pulled out his phone. Signal had returned. He started making calls. 1, 2, 3. His voice low, urgent, emotional. Annie watched, curious, concerned. After 20 minutes, he returned, his face strange, awed. Ma'am, I need to tell you something. Okay. While you were sleeping, I made some calls, called every chapter from here to New York. Annie's heart rate picked up. We found out. Because what you did, what happened here, People need to know. Single mother, $9. Opened her door to 25 strangers in a blizzard. Fed us, saved one of us, asked for nothing. Hammer, I don't want attention. I just did what anyone would do. No, ma'am, you did what almost nobody does. 9 doors closed, 1 opened. That's what anyone would do. And the brothers, they heard that story and they wanted to say thank you. They can call, send a card, whatever. Hammer shook his head. They're not calling, ma'am. They're coming. Coming? From where? Everywhere. He showed her his phone. Text messages, hundreds, from chapters across 6 states, Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, Washington, North Dakota, South Dakota. How many? Annie whispered. Hammer's thumb scrolled, kept scrolling. Last count when I came inside, 1,147, and climbing. Annie's legs gave out. She grabbed the counter. What? Yes, ma'am, 1,100 brothers. More coming. All riding here, all wanting to see the woman who did what nobody else would. That's insane. No, ma'am, that's family. A sound interrupted them. Distant, low, growing, not thunder. The storm had passed, not wind. The air was still. Engines. Tommy ran to the window, pressed his face to the glass. Mommy, what's that noise? Annie joined him, looked out, saw nothing at first. Then on the horizon, a dark line, growing, splitting into shapes, individual shapes, motorcycles, hundreds of them. The rumble grew, louder, closer. The building began to shake. Coffee cups rattled on the counter, pictures vibrated on the walls. How many? Annie breathed. Hammer stood beside her, looked out. His eyes widened. He pulled out his phone, refreshed, stared at the screen. 1,218, he said, and they're still coming. The first wave crested the hill, chrome and leather, an army of outcasts, riding through snow and ice, coming to say thank you to a broke single mother who had $9 and a dream and a 5-year-old son who believed in her. Tommy's voice was small, awed. Mommy, are those all angels? Annie couldn't speak, could barely breathe. She watched the river of motorcycles pour toward her, toward Betty's diner, toward this moment that felt impossible. Miraculous, terrifying. Hammer's hand found her shoulder. Steady, grounding. Ma'am, you opened your door to 25 strangers. Now 1,200 brothers want to return the favor. The parking lot began to fill. 1 bike, 10, 20, 50. They kept coming, lining Highway 89 in both directions, filling every space. Riders dismounting, removing helmets, walking toward the diner, walking toward her. Annie Walsh, 34 years old, former Army combat medic, widow, single mother, broken, alone. Except she wasn't alone anymore. Hammer squeezed her shoulder. Welcome to the family, Annie. Welcome home. The sun broke through the clouds, golden light on white snow and black leather and chrome. Tommy pressed against her leg. Cole Phantom Bennett stood silent in the corner. Bear breathed steady on the table. Nina packed up her medical supplies. Wade wiped his eyes, and outside the angels kept coming. 1,000, 2,000, more, all because one woman opened a door when everyone else closed theirs. All because kindness, once planted, grows into something bigger than any storm. Annie closed her eyes, felt her mother's presence. Betty, watching, smiling, proud. I did it, Mama, Annie whispered. I used the recipe, just like you taught me. The door opened. The first rider entered. Young, Hispanic, exhausted. He removed his helmet, looked at Annie, and dropped to one knee. Ma'am, he said, his voice breaking. My name is Miguel Rodriguez. I rode from El Paso, 24 hours straight. I had to come, had to see you. Because 4 years ago, my little brother died on a highway in New Mexico. Hypothermia. Nobody stopped. And when I heard what you did, that you didn't close your door, I just needed to say thank you for all the people who never got what you gave us. Annie knelt beside him, this stranger, this angel, and she understood this wasn't about her. This was about every closed door, every turned away stranger, Every time someone chose fear over compassion, every moment when humanity failed, and this was the answer. One open door, act of impossible kindness. One woman who chose love when the world chose hate. Thank you for coming, Annie said. Thank you for not giving up on people like me. Miguel stood, embraced her, then stepped aside as another rider entered. Then another, then another. The angels had come home, and Annie Walsh, with $9 and a 5-year-old son and her mother's recipe for depression fritters, had reminded them what home felt like. The story was just beginning. The parking lot filled like a flood. One motorcycle, then 10, then 50. Then the numbers stopped meaning anything. They just kept coming. Highway 89 became a river of chrome and leather stretching beyond sight in both directions. Montana State Patrol arrived within the hour. 3 cruisers, lights flashing, expecting trouble, finding something else entirely. The trooper was young, maybe 30. He approached Hammer with his hand near his weapon. Ready, trained, but also confused. Because what he saw didn't match what he expected. Organization, respect, veterans removing helmets, standing in formation. Sir, the trooper said, we've had reports of a mass gathering. I need to know what's happening here. Hammer extended his hand. The trooper hesitated, then took it. The handshake firm, equal. Officer, my name is Samuel Briggs, Vietnam, 1st Battalion, 5th Marines. These men are here to thank the woman who saved one of our brothers last night. That's all. No trouble, no threats, just gratitude. The trooper looked past Hammer, saw the scene, bikers helping each other park, older men directing traffic, purple hearts visible on leather vests, bronze stars, silver stars, service medals from wars spanning 50 years. How many? The trooper asked. Last count, 1,218. More coming? The trooper's radio crackled. His supervisor, asking for status. The young officer keyed his mic. Dispatch, this is Unit 7. I've got approximately 1,200 veterans at Betty's Diner. Organized. Peaceful. Request you contact the sheriff. This is beyond my scope. Within 30 minutes, the sheriff arrived. An older man, 60-something. Gray hair, the kind of face that had seen everything twice. He stepped out of his vehicle, surveyed the scene, then walked directly to Hammer. Sheriff Tom Burkhart, he said, no handshake offered. Not yet. You're drawing quite a crowd. Yes, sir. Any of your boys planning trouble? No, sir. We're here to honor someone, that's all. The sheriff studied Hammer, really looked, saw the Purple Heart on his vest, the combat action ribbon, the hash marks indicating time and country. What unit? 1st 5th Marines, Echo Company. The sheriff's expression changed, softened. My brother was 1st 5th, Golf Company. KIA, February 1968, Hughes City. Hammer went still. I was there. Echo Company defended the MACV compound. Golf Company was 2 blocks over. Heavy fighting. They gave him the Navy Cross, posthumous. I'm sorry for your loss. The sheriff nodded, extended his hand this time. Hammer took it. Understanding passed between them, the kind that doesn't need words. Keep it peaceful, the sheriff said up in. Keep it organized, and I'll make sure nobody bothers you. Yes, sir, you have my word. The sheriff walked back to his cruiser, spoke into his radio. 4 more patrol cars arrived, not to threaten, to direct traffic, to help, because sometimes the badge sees past the leather and recognizes the men underneath. Inside the diner, Annie tried to process what was happening. Men kept entering, one at a time, each with a story, each needing to say something, to share something, to connect to this moment. A man from Detroit, black, 50-something, built like a tank. He knelt before Annie, actually knelt, his eyes wet. Ma'am, my name is Robert Lawson. They call me Tank. 15 years ago, Christmas Eve, I was bare. Broke down outside Toledo, hypothermia. 7 cars passed me. 7, lost 4 fingers to frostbite. He held up his right hand, thumb and index finger intact, the others missing. Almost lost my life. You're the answer to 15 years of asking, what if somebody had stopped? Thank you. Thank you for being the person I needed that night. He stood, embraced Annie, then stepped aside for the next man, a younger rider, mid-20s, Texas accent. Ma'am, I'm David Chen, Austin chapter. My little sister, she was in a hospital room 3 years ago. Cancer, 8 years old. These men showed up with toys, with hope. She's in remission now, college bound. I rode 22 hours to say thank you for being the kind of person who helps people like them. Another man, older, weathered. Portland chapter, name's Mike Stevens. You remind me of my mother. She died in 1997. Always opened her door, always fed people. I'd forgotten people like her still existed. Thank you for reminding me. The stories kept coming, each one a wound, each one a healing, each one proof that what happened in this diner 12 hours ago mattered more than Annie could understand. By 10 a.m., the count reached 1,400. By 11, 1,600. The news crews arrived. 3 vans from Billings, CNN affiliate from Denver. By noon, national coverage. A reporter approached Annie, blonde, young, aggressive, microphone extended like a weapon. Mrs. Walsh, America wants to hear your story. Can we get a statement about what happened here? Annie stepped back. No comment. But you're a hero. People need to know. I'm not a hero. I just opened a door. That's exactly what people want to hear. Just 5 minutes. Wade intercepted, his massive frame blocking the reporter, his voice polite but firm. Lady, she said no. That means no. The reporter tried to go around him. Wade didn't move, just stood there, immovable. This is news. The public has a right to know. The public has a right to respect someone's wishes. Now step back. The reporter's cameraman kept filming. Wade looked directly at the camera. You want a story? Here's your story. Woman with nothing gave everything. While America locked its doors, she opened hers. That used to be what we were about. Maybe it still can be. Now leave her alone. He turned, walked back inside. The clip went viral within an hour. 10 million views by evening. Wade became an internet sensation. The biker who defended a single mother with words instead of fists. The outlaw who understood boundaries. The angel who looked like a devil. At 11:15, a 1976 Dodge Power Wagon rumbled through the crowd. Pristine, cherry red, chrome bumpers gleaming. The kind of truck that came from another era when men built things to last forever. Harold Walsh climbed out, 69 years old, moving like a man 20 years younger. Retired NYPD detective. 25 years on the force, the kind of cop who actually served and protected instead of just wearing the badge. Tommy saw him first. Grandpa Harold! He ran. Harold caught him, lifted him, spun him once, set him down. Hey, buddy, heard you had quite a night. Mommy saved a man, and then 1,000 angels came. Harold's eyes found Annie through the window. She stood inside, surrounded by strangers who had become family. Her face exhausted, relieved, overwhelmed. Harold walked to the door. Hammer met him there. 2 old warriors, sizing each other up, the biker and the cop, natural enemies in another life, brothers in this one. Harold Walsh, Harold said, extending his hand. Retired NYPD, 25 years. Hammer took it. Samuel Briggs, they call me Hammer, Vietnam 68 to 70. What unit? 1st 5th Marines. My brother-in-law was 1st 7th, died at Khe Sanh. I'm sorry. Long time ago, but never far away. Understanding passed between them, the kind that comes from serving, from losing, from surviving when others didn't. This woman, Harold said, gesturing toward Annie, she's my daughter, not by blood, but by choice. My son, her ex-husband, he's a fool, walked away from the best thing in his life. But I didn't. She's mine to protect now. Hammer nodded. We protect our own too. She's family now. Anyone comes at her, they come through us. Good, because someone's coming. Harold pulled out a small notebook. NYPD issue. He'd carried it for 25 years. Still carried it now. Some habits die hard. My son called me last week, asking questions about Annie, about the diner, about finances, about Tommy. I've been a detective long enough to know what that means. He's building a case. Hammer's expression darkened. Custody? That's my guess. He sees money, sees attention, sees opportunity. He'll move fast. What can we do? Document everything, photograph everything, create a record so clean it's bulletproof, and get her a lawyer, the best one in Montana. You know one? I know the best. Judith Miller, former prosecutor. Legendary. She was DA when I was walking a beat in Queens. Moved out here in the 80s. Retired now but still takes cases. She owes me a favor. What kind of favor? The kind where I saved her daughter's life in 1992. Domestic situation gone bad. Husband with a gun. I talked him down. Took 3 hours. Nobody died. She's owed me ever since. Hammer smiled. A wolf smile. I like you, detective. Call me Harold, and I like you too. Now let's go protect my daughter. They entered together. Annie saw Harold. Relief flooded her face. He crossed the room, pulled her into a hug. The kind of hug that says, I'm here and you're safe and nothing will hurt you while I'm standing. You did good, girl, he whispered. Betty would be proud. I'm scared, Harold. This is too much. Too many people. Too much attention. I know, but we're going to handle it. Together. He released her, looked around, saw Cole in the corner. Quiet, watching, always watching. Harold's detective instincts kicked in. Something about that young man, something familiar, haunted, dangerous in the way that protectors are dangerous. Who's that? Harold asked quietly. Cole Bennett. He fixed the electrical, gave up his motorcycle alternator to give us power. Harold studied Cole. He former military? Marines, 3 tours. He watching over you? Annie hesitated. I think so. He hasn't left since he got here. Good. Keep him close. You're going to need people you can trust. Hammer approached them. In his hand, an envelope. Thick, official looking. His face serious. Annie, I need to talk to you privately. Harold's cop instincts flared. What's in the envelope? Money. The word hung there, heavy, complicated. They moved to a back booth, away from the crowd. Hammer opened the envelope. Inside, a check. Annie looked at the amount. Her vision blurred. $58,000. This is... She couldn't finish the sentence. Couldn't process it. 18 chapters, Hammer explained. Started collecting at 7 a.m. Word spread about what you did. Each chapter took up a collection. Some gave 1,000. Some gave 5. All gave what they could. Annie's hand shook. I can't take this. You don't have a choice. It's already cleared. Already in your name. Harold leaned forward, his detective brain working. This is a lot of money. Legally obtained? Every dollar documented. Every chapter kept receipts. It's clean. Gift tax? Each chapter gave under the limit. 18 chapters times 3,000. Under the gift tax exemption. Your accountant will confirm. Harold nodded slowly, impressed. You thought this through. We take care of our own, and Annie's our own now. Annie couldn't speak. $58,000. Her debts totaled $14,000. The rest could renovate the diner, could secure Tommy's future, could give them the breathing room they hadn't had in years. But Harold's face remained serious. This is going to make things worse. How? Annie asked. Derek, he's going to see this. And when he does, he's going to move. Fast. As if summoned by his name, Annie's phone rang. Not the diner line. Her personal cell. She looked at the screen. An unknown number. Denver area code. Harold put his hand over hers. Don't answer. Not yet. Let me make some calls first. But the phone kept ringing. And something in Annie knew with absolute certainty. Derek had seen the news, had seen the money, had made his decision. She answered, Hello? Annie, it's Derek. His voice, smooth, practiced. The voice that had once promised forever and delivered abandonment. What do you want? I saw the news. Are you and Tommy okay? The concern in his voice felt manufactured, plastic, false. We're fine. That's a lot of bikers, a lot of dangerous people around our son. They're not dangerous. They're veterans. They saved a man's life. Still, I'm concerned. I think Tommy should come stay with me for a while. just until things settled down. There it was, the real reason for the call, the trap being set. No one, Winnie, I'm his father, I have rights. You haven't paid child support in 8 months. You have no rights. His voice changed, the mask slipping. That money, the donations. I helped build that diner. I'm entitled to half in custody. Tommy deserves stability. He has stability. He has me. We'll see what a judge says. The line went dead. Annie sat frozen, the phone still pressed to her ear. Harold gently took it from her hand. What did he say? He's filing for custody. Harold's jaw clenched. When? He didn't say, but soon. I could hear it in his voice. Hammer stood. We need that lawyer, now. Harold pulled out his phone, dialed a number he'd memorized 30 years ago. It rang 3 times. Then a woman's voice, strong, no nonsense. This is Judith. Judith, it's Harold Walsh. Silence, then, Harold, it's been 15 years. I need to call in that favor. The one from 1992? That's the one. What do you need? Custody defense. Emergency. My daughter. Ex-husband is going to file. Probably tomorrow. Your daughter? Daughter of my heart, not my blood, but mine nonetheless. Another pause. Tell me about her. Harold looked at Annie, saw the fear, saw the strength underneath, saw Betty in her eyes. She's the best person I know. Army medic, Iraq veteran, single mother. Last night she saved a stranger's life with expired antibiotics and determination. Then fed 25 men with her last food. Now 1,400 bikers are here to say thank you. And her ex-husband smells money and wants to take her son. Judith's voice changed, sharpened. I'll be there in 2 hours. Don't let her talk to him. Don't let her sign anything. And start documenting everything. Already started. Good, because we're going to war. The line went dead. Harold looked at Annie. Best custody lawyer in Montana. She's coming. We're going to win this. How do you just know? Because I spent 25 years watching her destroy men who thought they were smarter than her. She's never lost a custody case. Not once, Bossa. The afternoon passed in a blur. More bikers arrived. The count hit 1,800. Media requests poured in. Good Morning America. Today's Show. Ellen. Everyone wanted the feel-good story. The single mother and the angels. Annie refused them all. But the story spread anyway. Social media, news websites, international coverage by evening. The woman who opened her door became a symbol. Proof that kindness still mattered. That humanity wasn't dead. But symbols attract attention. And attention attracts predators. At 4 p.m., Harold noticed him. Gray Ford Taurus, Montana plates, parked 100 yards down the highway. Man inside, 40s, camera with telephoto lens, taking pictures. Harold approached Hammer. We've got a tail. Private investigator, 100 yards south, gray Taurus. Hammer looked, saw him. Derek's? Guaranteed. He's building evidence, documenting the bikers, the crowd, anything he can spin as dangerous environment. Want me to have a conversation with him? No, let him take his pictures. We'll take ours. Every photo he gets of bikers, we'll get one of Tommy Happy. Every dangerous environment claim. We'll counter with loving family, evidence war, and we're going to win. Cole materialized beside them. Silent, ghost-like. I can follow him, find out who hired him, where he's staying, what he's reporting. Harold studied the young man, Marine, trained, dangerous when needed. You know how to tail someone? Scout sniper school. Surveillance was part of the training. Do it, but don't engage. Just observe and report. Cole nodded, disappeared. 10 minutes later, Harold saw him, or rather, didn't see him, just caught a glimpse of movement, a shadow that shouldn't be there. The kid was good, really good. At 6 p.m., a Honda Civic pulled into the lot, Colorado plates. A young woman stepped out, 18, blonde, nervous. She looked around, overwhelmed by the crowd, lost. She approached the first biker she saw. Excuse me, I'm looking for Victor Stone. Is he here? The biker's face changed, softened. You're Emma. She nodded, tears already starting. Come with me. He led her inside. The crowd parted. Everyone knew who she was. Everyone knew what this meant. Bear's daughter. 8 years of estrangement. 8 years of guilt and pain and words unsaid. All about to end. Annie saw her. Knew immediately. The girl had Bear's eyes, his jawline. His way of standing like the world was too heavy, but she'd carry it anyway. "Emma," Annie said softly. The girl turned. "You're Annie, the woman who saved my dad. How did you know to come?" "Hammer called me, told me what happened. I drove straight from Boulder. 14 hours. I had to see him. Had to know if he's really alive." "He's alive. Recovering. He's been asking for you." Emma's face crumbled. "I thought I hated him. Spent 8 years being angry. Then I got the call and I realized I can't hate him. He's my day. He's my day. And he almost died and I wasn't there." Annie pulled her close. "This stranger. This daughter. You're here now. That's what matters." She led Emma to the back room. Bear was awake, sitting up. Color returned to his face. Nina had checked him an hour ago. Vitals stable. Temperature normal. The antibiotics had worked. The warming had worked. Against every odd, he had survived. Bear saw Emma. His face did something Annie had never seen before. It shattered and rebuilt itself in the same moment. Joy and grief and disbelief colliding. "Emma," he breathed. "Baby girl, you came." Emma ran to him and crashed into him. 8 years of distance erased in 3 steps. They held each other, father and daughter, both crying, both broken, both healing. "I'm sorry," Bear sobbed. "God, I'm so sorry. I should have fought harder. Should have been there. Should have been your father." "Daddy, stop. Just stop." Emma pulled back, looked at him. "I forgive you. Do you hear me? I forgive you." Bear couldn't speak, could only hold his daughter and cry, the kind of crying that comes from the deepest place, the place where regret lives, where redemption begins. Annie left them, closed the door, gave them privacy. When she turned, she found 25 bikers in the main room, all watching, all knowing what was happening, all crying. Wade wiped his face. "Damn, Annie's got some kind of magic." "Not magic," Hammer said quietly. "Grace, there's a difference." The evening brought more complications. A black Mercedes pulled into the lot, expensive, out of place. A woman stepped out, 60, elegant, designer clothes, the kind of woman who had never wanted for anything. Barbara Caldwell, wealthiest woman in Pine Ridge, town matriarch, and Annie's most vocal critic for 2 years. She entered the diner, every eye turned, the tension immediate. Harold stood, positioned himself between Barbara and Annie, protective. Barbara saw him, saw the bikers, saw Annie, her face unreadable. "Mrs. Walsh," she said formally, "may I speak with you, privately?" Annie nodded. They moved to a corner booth. Alone. Barbara sat, folded her hands, looked Annie in the eye. "I owe you an apology," Barbara said, "a profound one." Annie blinked. Of all the things she expected, this wasn't one of them. "For 2 years, I've been your enemy. I circulated petitions against this diner, called it an eyesore, complained to the county, made your life harder at every opportunity." "Why?" Annie asked. "Because I was wrong, because I looked at you and saw failure, saw struggle, saw everything I've spent my life avoiding, and it frightened me." Barbara's voice broke slightly. "Last night, I watched the news, saw what you did, saw you open your door to strangers when everyone else closed theirs, and I realized something. You're everything I pretended to be. Generous, brave, kind, while I counted my money and closed my curtains." "Mrs. Caldwell, please let me finish." Barbara pulled out a checkbook. "I want to invest in this diner. Properly. Full renovation. New equipment. Expansion. Silent partner. You run everything. I provide capital." "I don't understand." "I'm 73 years old. I've spent my life being right and being alone. My husband died 5 years ago. My children visit twice a year out of obligation. I have money and nothing else. Let me do this. Let me be part of something that matters." Annie studied her, saw the loneliness, saw the genuine regret, saw a woman reaching for redemption. "Okay," Annie said. "Partners. Barbara's eyes filled. Thank you. Thank you for giving me a chance I don't deserve. They shook hands, the wealthy widow and the broke single mother. Partners, proof that people can change, that it's never too late to choose kindness over fear. The night deepened. Bikers began to leave. Not all, but many. They had jobs, families, lives waiting. But before they left, each one stopped at the counter. Each one shook Annie's hand. Each one said thank you. Each one left changed. By midnight, 300 remained. The core, the Montana chapter, and close allies. They set up camp in the parking lot. Tents, sleeping bags, a small city of leather and chrome. Harold stayed, sleeping in his truck, watching, protecting. Cole stayed too, on the couch, silent, ready. Annie put Tommy to bed at 11. He was exhausted, overwhelmed, but happy. But he'd spent the day with men who treated him like a prince, who taught him card tricks and motorcycle mechanics and what it meant to be part of something bigger than yourself. Mommy, he said sleepily, are all those men really angels? I think so, baby. Good, because I like angels. They're nice. He fell asleep in seconds. Annie watched him. This beautiful boy, this reason for everything. Derek wanted to take him, wanted to use him as leverage, as a weapon, over her dead body. She returned downstairs, found Harold and Hammer waiting, serious faces, bad news faces. What? Harold handed her a document, legal paper, official seal. Cole followed the PI, got close enough to see what he was working on, photographed it with his phone. Annie read it. Emergency motion for custody modification. Filed by Derek Walsh. Hearing scheduled for Monday morning. 9 a.m., 3 days away. He moved fast, Hammer said. What do I do? We fight, Harold said. Judith gets here tomorrow morning. We spend the weekend building our defense. Monday, we go to war. Annie looked at the document, at Derek's name, at the words claiming she was unfit, dangerous, exploiting Tommy for money. Every accusation a lie, every lie a knife. I'm going to lose him, she whispered. Derek's going to take Tommy. Harold knelt beside her, took her hands. Listen to me. You saved a man's life last night with expired pills and prayer. You fed 25 men with your last food. You brought a father and daughter back together after 8 years. You turned enemies into friends. You reminded 1,800 people that humanity still exists. You think that woman is going to lose to a man who abandoned his son for a ski vacation? The judge doesn't know any of that. Then we'll tell them. Every word, every witness, every piece of evidence. And when we're done, Derek will wish he never picked this fight. Annie wanted to believe him, wanted to feel the confidence in his voice. But fear is a powerful thing, and a mother's fear for her child is the most powerful fear of all. Hammer's phone rang. He answered, listened. His face changed. Understood. We'll be ready. He hung up, looked at Annie. That was Judith. She's not waiting until morning. She's coming tonight. Be here in an hour. She wants to start preparing now. Why the rush? Because she read Derek's filing, and she's pissed. Her words, not mine. Said any lawyer who'd file this garbage deserves to be embarrassed in court. And she plans to do exactly that. True to her word, Judith Miller arrived at 1 a.m. She drove a 1968 Ford Mustang, restored, immaculate, the kind of car that announced its owner didn't compromise on anything. She stepped out, 60 years old, silver hair cut short, power suit despite the hour, eyes that had seen every lie, every manipulation, every dirty trick lawyers used to win. She extended her hand to Annie. Judith Miller. Pleasure to meet the woman who saved Harold's heart. He talks about you like you're his own daughter. I am, Annie said simply. Judith smiled, a predator's smile. Good, because I eat men like your ex-husband for breakfast. Now let's get to work. We have 72 hours to build a case so airtight he'll wish he'd stayed in Denver. They worked through the night. Documentation, photographs, witness statements, medical records, school records, bank statements, every piece of evidence that proved Annie was a devoted mother. Every piece that proved Derek was an absent father. By dawn, they had a file 3 inches thick. By Sunday afternoon, 6 inches. 37 character witnesses, each with written statements, each willing to testify. Teachers, doctors, neighbors, business owners, and bikers. So many bikers, all with honorable discharges, all with medals, all ready to tell a judge that Annie Walsh saved their brother and earned their loyalty forever. Sunday evening, Cole returned from his surveillance. Derek's staying at the Hampton Inn in Great Falls. Been meeting with his lawyer, James Peterson, expensive, aggressive, specializes in custody battles. He's good. How good? Judith asked. Wins 70% of his cases. Judith smiled. I win 93% of mine, and I've been doing this 30 years longer. He's going to learn why you don't pick fights with old women who have nothing left to prove. Monday morning arrived too fast. Annie dressed in the only professional clothes she owned, a navy blue dress Barbara had lent her, simple, conservative. The kind of dress that said, responsible mother, not struggling diner owner. Tommy stayed with Wade and the other bikers, surrounded by protection. Harold drove Annie to the courthouse. Judith rode with them, going over strategy one last time. Derek's going to paint you as unstable, dangerous environment, poor judgment. We counter every point. You're a veteran. The environment saved a life. Your judgment brought a community together. We make him defend his absence while you defend your presence, understand? Annie nodded, but her hands shook. Fear does that, even to the strong, even to the brave. The Cascade County Courthouse was small, built in 1952, stone and wood, the kind of building that had seen 3 generations of justice served, or attempted. The courtroom was packed, 40 bikers, all in dress vests, medals polished, hair combed, presenting as the veterans they were. Barbara Caldwell sat in the front row. Dr. Sarah Campbell, Betty Morgan, every person Annie had ever helped, every person who believed in her, all there. Ohen, Derek sat at the plaintiff's table, expensive suit, perfect hair, his lawyer beside him. James Peterson, mid-40s, the kind of handsome that came from money and the confidence money brings. Annie sat at the defense table, Judith beside her, Harold behind her. Their own small army against Derek's hired gun. The bailiff stood. All rise. The Honorable Patricia Morrison presiding. Court is now in session. Judge Morrison entered, 68 years old, appointed by Reagan in 1984, the kind of judge who believed in the law but understood justice was bigger than statutes. Please be seated. She reviewed her papers, looked up. Case number CV-24-18847, Walsh versus Walsh, emergency custody modification. Mr. Peterson, you filed the motion. Please proceed. Peterson stood, smooth, practiced. Your Honor, my client is a concerned father. Mrs. Walsh's home has become a gathering place for a notorious motorcycle gang. 25 Hells Angels were present during a life-threatening medical emergency. A convicted felon is currently residing on the premises. National media has descended, creating a circus atmosphere. My client believes his son is in danger and requests immediate temporary custody pending full investigation. Judith stood. Your Honor, this is transparent opportunism. Mr. Walsh hasn't paid child support in 8 months. Yet he spent $4,200 on a ski vacation 3 weeks ago. He hasn't visited his son in 19 months. But 48 hours after seeing $58,000 raised on CNN, suddenly he's Father of the Year. Judge Morrison's eyebrow raised. Mr. Peterson, is your client current on child support? Peterson hesitated. Your Honor, my client has experienced temporary financial difficulties. How temporary, and how much does he owe? 8 months, total of $9,600. The judge made a note. Continue, I want to hear the evidence before I rule. Peterson called Derek to the stand. The questions came smooth, rehearsed. How much he loved Tommy, how worried he was, how the bikers frightened him, how the money suggested Annie's judgment was compromised. Then Judah stood for cross-examination, and the temperature in the courtroom dropped 10 degrees. Mr. Walsh, when is your son's birthday? Derek smiled, confident. July 14th. What's his pediatrician's name? The smile faltered. Dr. Martinez, I believe. You believe? Dr. Martinez. When was his last checkup? Silence. Mr. Walsh? I don't recall the exact date. December 2nd, 3 weeks ago. You didn't know because you weren't there. When did you last speak to your son? I've been busy with work. How busy? Days, weeks, months? Derek's jaw clenched. Several months. 19 months. Your last documented contact with Tommy was July of last year, correct? If you say so. Judith produced a document. Phone records. 0 calls to your son. 0 attempts to video chat. 0 contact. Yet you claim to be a concerned father. I sent child support. Did you? Judith produced bank records. 8 months, 0 payments. Yet during that same period, you spent $4,200 in Aspen, $3,000 on a new television, $1,500 at restaurants. She paused. With your girlfriend, Amber Pierce, who is 28 years old, 9 years younger than your ex-wife. Peterson objected. Relevance, Your Honor. Goes to character and priorities, Judith shot back. I'll allow it, the judge said, but make your point quickly, Ms. Miller. Judith looked at Derek. You had money for vacations, for entertainment, for a new girlfriend, but not for your son. Would you say that demonstrates the judgment of a concerned father? Derek's face flushed. That's not fair. No, Mr. Walsh. What's not fair is abandoning your son, then reappearing when there's money to be had. No further questions. Derek stepped down, angry, humiliated, but Peterson wasn't done. He called his next witness, the private investigator, Robert Archer, former Montana State Trooper, now making money photographing people for lawyers. Archer presented his evidence, photos of the bikers, the crowd, the chaos. He made it sound dangerous, threatening, overwhelming, a place no child should be. Then Judith stood. Mr. Archer, how many of the men in your photographs are military veterans? I don't know. Take a guess. Maybe some. Judith produced a different set of photos. These are the same men, different angles. Notice anything? Archer studied them. His face changed. Purple hearts, Judith said. Bronze stars, silver stars, combat action ribbons. These aren't criminals, Mr. Archer. They're heroes. Men who served this country. Men who came to honor a woman who saved one of their own. Does that sound dangerous to you? I was just documenting what I saw. You were building a narrative for a paycheck. No further questions. The afternoon wore on. Peterson called more witnesses, tried to build his case, but every argument fell apart under Judith's cross-examination. Every claim revealed as exaggeration or outright fabrication. Then Judith called her witnesses, and the tide turned completely. Dr. Sarah Campbell, Tommy's teacher. Annie volunteers every week. Tommy is thriving, happy, well-adjusted, top of his class. He speaks of his mother with love and respect. In 23 years of teaching, she's among the finest parents I've known. Dr. Martinez, Tommy's pediatrician. All vaccinations current, never missed an appointment. Annie is attentive, asks appropriate questions, follows medical advice. 0 concerns about his care. Barbara Caldwell. I was Annie's harshest critic. I was wrong. What she did last week was the bravest thing I've witnessed in my 73 years. If this court takes that child from her, it will be a travesty. Then Hammer took the stand, and something shifted in the courtroom. He wore his full dress vest, every medal visible, the Purple Heart, the Bronze Star, the Combat Action Ribbon, hash marks indicating time and country. He looked like what he was, a warrior, a leader, a man who had earned respect through blood and sacrifice. Peterson tried to attack. Mr. Briggs, you're the leader of a motorcycle gang, correct? I'm the president of a veterans organization that happens to ride motorcycles. There's a difference. Your organization has been investigated by law enforcement for 30 years, never charged, never convicted, because we're not criminals. We're veterans who found family in each other. Still, you're telling this court that having Hell's Angels around a 5-year-old child is appropriate? Hammer leaned forward, his voice calm, deadly calm. I'm telling this court that 25 combat veterans stopped at 9 doors Christmas Eve. 9 doors slammed in our faces. One was a church. A church, counselor. The pastor looked at our patches and said God's house was full. His voice broke. Mrs. Walsh was the only person in 60 miles who saw us as human beings. She had $9. She gave us her last food. She saved my brother's life. And you want to punish her for that? The courtroom was silent. Even Peterson had no response. Judith stood. Mr. Briggs, what kind of mother does that? Hammer looked at Annie. The kind who teaches her son that courage means doing right even when you're terrified. The kind worth following into hell. The best kind. Peterson had no cross-examination. The day ended at 6 p.m. Judge Morrison looked exhausted. We'll reconvene tomorrow morning. 9 a.m. Ms. Miller, I understand you have more witnesses? Yes, Your Honor, including one with relevant criminal history that needs to be addressed. Very well. Mr. Walsh, Mrs. Walsh, both of you are ordered to have no contact with the child until this matter is resolved. He'll stay with a neutral third party. Your Honor, Harold stood. I'm the child's grandfather, Derek's father. Can I serve as neutral party? The judge considered. Mr. Walsh, objection? Derek looked at his father, saw the disappointment, the shame, shook his head. No objection. Very well. Mr. Harold Walsh will have custody pending resolution. Court is adjourned. The gavel fell. Day one was over, but the war had just begun. Because tomorrow Cole Bennett would take the stand, and his past would become present, and everything would depend on whether a judge could see past a conviction to the man underneath. Annie left the courthouse surrounded by her people. Her family, Harold, Judith, Hammer, the bikers, all walking together, all standing together, so all ready for whatever came next. Derek watched them go, standing alone with his expensive lawyer, realizing maybe, just maybe, he'd picked a fight he couldn't win. Because money can buy lawyers, but it can't buy loyalty, can't buy love, can't buy the kind of family that forms when strangers become brothers, and a single mother becomes a symbol of everything that still exists in the world. The angels had come home, and they weren't leaving. Not now, not ever. Tuesday morning arrived with the weight of unfinished battles. Annie woke in Harold's guest room, alone. Tommy was downstairs with his grandfather, eating pancakes, laughing, safe, but not hers. Not until the judge said so. Not until the law gave back what biology and love had already decided. She dressed in the same navy dress, the borrowed armor, the costume of respectability. Then she drove to the courthouse with Harold and Judith. None of them spoke. Sometimes silence is the only honest response to fear. The courtroom filled again. Same faces, same sides. The bikers in their dress vests, Derek in his expensive suit. Two versions of America facing each other across a divide wider than any courtroom aisle. Judge Morrison entered. Everyone stood. The ritual of respect. Then sat again. The ritual of waiting. Ms. Miller, the judge said, you indicated you have a witness with criminal history to address. Yes, Your Honor. Cole Bennett. Cole stood from the back row, walked forward. Every eye tracked him. He moved like a ghost, silent, controlled. The way men move when they've learned that visibility means vulnerability. He took the stand, placed his hand on the Bible, swore to tell the truth, then sat, waiting. Judith approached. Mr. Bennett, please state your full name and age for the record. Cole Marcus Bennett, 29 years old. Military service, United States Marine Corps, 2013 to 2020. 3 deployments, Iraq, Afghanistan. Honorable discharge? Yes, ma'am. Current employment, electrical engineer, independent contractor, currently staying at Betty's Diner helping with renovations. Judith paused. Let that sink in. Engineer, not criminal. Veteran, not outlaw. Then she went for the throat. Mr. Bennett, you have a conviction for assault. Please explain the circumstances. Cole's jaw tightened. This was the hard part. The truth that looked like guilt. May 17th, 2019. Helena, I was at a bar, heard a woman screaming in the parking lot, ran outside. Man had her pinned against a car, hitting her. I told him to stop. He swung at me. Broke my nose. I defended myself. One punch. He went down, hit his head on the car. Concussion. You were charged? Yes, ma'am. Assault with bodily harm. What happened to those charges? Dismissed after 3 witnesses testified I was protecting the victim. She testified I saved her life. Judith produced documents. Police report. 3 witness statements, all corroborating Mr. Bennett's account. Victim's testimony. Charges dismissed. Record expunged. She handed them to the judge. Your Honor, Mr. Bennett didn't assault someone. He protected someone. There's a difference. Peterson stood for cross-examination, confident, ready. Mr. Bennett, you're living with Mrs. Walsh, correct? I'm staying at the diner temporarily, sleeping on the couch. But you have feelings for her. Cole hesitated. 3 seconds of silence. Then, yes. The courtroom stirred. Whispers, movement. Annie's face flushed. Has she reciprocated these feelings? No, she's been professional, focused on her son. But you hope she will. Cole looked at Annie. Something passed between them. Recognition, understanding. The beginning of something neither had planned. Someday. When she's ready. When I've earned it, yes. So you're biased. Your testimony is worthless. Cole's expression hardened. I'm biased toward protecting children. Toward standing up when someone needs help. Toward doing the right thing even when it's hard. If that makes my testimony worthless, then guilty as charged. Peterson pressed harder. You joined a motorcycle gang, an organization investigated by law enforcement. I joined a veterans organization that gave me the only family I've ever had, 14 foster homes before I aged out. The club saw me when nobody else did. They're not a gang, they're brothers. Brothers with criminal records. Brothers with purple hearts, bronze stars, men who served when others stayed home. Men who risked their lives for sick kids every Christmas. That's who they are, not whatever narrative you're trying to sell. Peterson tried several more angles. Each one failed. Each one made Cole look better, made Derek look worse. Finally, Peterson gave up. No further questions. Judith stood. Mr. Bennett, one more thing. Your childhood. Tell the court. Cole's face went blank. This was harder than the assault conviction. Harder than anything. Born 1995. Mother lost custody when I was 1. Father won based on lies. Told her I died in foster care when I was 7. She believed it, grieved for me. I bounced through 14 homes, aged out at 18. Joined the Marines because I had nowhere else to go. You thought your mother was dead? She thought I was dead. I thought she abandoned me. We were both wrong. Where is your mother now? I don't know. Lost track after I joined the service. Been looking but haven't found her. Judith nodded. Let that pain sit in the courtroom. Let everyone see what abandonment really looks like. What real loss creates. Then she sat down. No further questions. Cole stepped down, walked back to his seat. Annie watched him go. Saw the hurt, the loneliness, the strength it took to expose that in front of strangers. She wanted to go to him, hold him, tell him he wasn't alone anymore. But the judge was still speaking. Ms. Miller, any other witnesses? Yes, Your Honor. Harold Walsh. Harold stood, walked forward. He looked tired, older than his 69 years, but determined. He took the stand, swore in, sat. Judith began gently. Miss Walsh, you're Derek's father, correct? Yes, ma'am. Yet you're testifying for Annie. Why? Harold looked at his son, something sad and final in his expression. Because being a father means doing what's right, not what's easy. My son made choices, bad ones. He walked away from his wife, his child, his responsibilities. I didn't raise him to be that man, but that's who he chose to become. Annie, on the other hand, she became everything I hoped my son would be. Strong, honorable, present. She's my daughter now. Not by blood, but by choice. And I'll stand for her against anyone, including my own son. The words hit Derek like bullets, his face pale, his hands gripping the table. Mr. Walsh, Judith continued, as a retired NYPD detective, you've investigated many cases. In your professional opinion, is Tommy in danger with Annie? No, ma'am. Tommy is thriving. He's loved, protected, taught good values. He's exactly where he should be. And with Derek? Harold hesitated, choosing words carefully. Derek isn't ready to be a father. Maybe someday, But not today. Today he's chasing money and ego, not his son. Peterson stood. Objection. Speculation. Sustained, the judge said. Mr. Walsh, stick to facts. Harold nodded. Fact. Derek hasn't seen Tommy in 19 months. Fact. He hasn't paid support in 8. Fact. He only filed this motion after seeing money on TV. Those facts speak for themselves. Peterson had no cross-examination. What could he say? Harold was Derek's own father, testifying against him. No jury would miss that message. Judith called 2 more witnesses, both brief, both powerful. Then she rested her case. Your Honor, the defense rests. We believe the evidence clearly shows Mrs. Walsh is a devoted mother. Mr. Walsh is an absent father. There is no emergency, no danger, just opportunism. The judge looked at her notes, looked at Derek, looked at Annie. I'm going to take a brief recess, 30 minutes. Then I'll hear closing arguments and make my ruling. She stood. Everyone stood. She left. The courtroom exhaled. Annie stepped into the hallway. Harold followed. Judith stayed inside, preparing, always preparing. You okay? Harold asked. No, I feel like I'm going to throw up. That's normal. This is the worst part, the waiting. Annie leaned against the wall, closed her eyes. What if she sides with Derek? What if I lose Tommy? Harold took her hands. Then we appeal, and we keep fighting. But Annie, listen to me. That judge has been on the bench for 40 years. She's seen every trick, every lie. She knows what Derek is, and she knows what you are. Trust the process. Before Annie could respond, Harold's face changed, went gray. His left hand moved to his chest, gripping, clawing. Harold? Annie's voice sharp with alarm. I'm fine, just heartburn. No, that's not heartburn. Her medic training kicked in. She grabbed his wrist, pulse rapid, irregular, skin clammy, breathing shallow. Harold, you're having a heart attack. Sit down, now. Harold's legs gave out. He slid down the wall. His breathing labored. His face the color of old concrete. Someone call 911, T. Annie screamed. Now! Bikers appeared. Cole first, then Hammer, Wade. They moved fast, efficient. Cole started CPR. Annie checked vitals. Hammer called emergency services. Derek came out, saw his father on the floor, saw Annie and Cole working. For one moment, the mask fell. Real fear, real pain, real love for the man who raised him. Dad, Derek whispered, dropped to his knees. Dad, please, don't leave me. Harold's eyes opened, found Derek. Son, be the man I raised, not what you became. Then he lost consciousness. The ambulance arrived in 4 minutes. Paramedics took over, loaded Harold. Annie climbed in with him. Derek tried to follow, but the paramedic stopped him. Family only. I'm his son. Annie looked at Derek, saw the terror, the regret, the realization that some things matter more than money. Let him come. They rode together, Annie and Derek, on opposite sides of the gurney, both holding Harold's hands, both praying to different gods for the same outcome. Don't let him die, please. Not yet. Not like this. The hospital was chaos. Billings General, the same hospital where Bear recovered, where 600 kids got their toys, where hope lived alongside suffering. Harold went straight to surgery, triple bypass. The surgeon was blunt. He's 69, heart's in bad shape. This is serious. Next 48 hours are critical. They waited. Annie, Derek, Cole, Hammer, Wade, Barbara. Judith arrived an hour later, told the judge what happened. The hearing postponed until Friday. 3 more days of uncertainty. At 9 p.m., the surgeon emerged, exhausted, but smiling. He made it through, strong heart for his age, but it was close. He'll be in ICU overnight. You can see him briefly. They went in, one at a time. Derek first. He stood beside his father's bed, machines beeping, tubes everywhere. This man who had been invincible, who had walked beat cops through New York, who had survived 3 decades of violence and remained kind, now broken on a hospital bed. I'm sorry, Dad, Derek whispered. I'm so sorry for everything, for being weak, for chasing money, for forgetting what you taught me. His voice broke. Please wake up. Give me a chance to be better. Lisa, Harold's eyes fluttered, opened, focused on his son. Then be better, starting now. Derek nodded, unable to speak. Just nodded and cried. Annie went in next. Harold's eyes tracked her, tired but alert. Did we win? Annie laughed through tears. Harold, you just had a heart attack. That's what you're worried about? You're my daughter. Of course that's what I'm worried about. Hearings Friday, postponed because of you. Good. Gives Judith more time to prepare. He squeezed her hand weakly. You'll win, I know it. Rest. Stop talking. Just rest. Annie, one thing, Cole, that boy, he's good. Don't let him slip away. Harold, promise me. Life's too short for maybes. I know. I almost died today. Okay, I promise. Now sleep before I let the nurses sedate you. Harold smiled, closed his eyes, slept. Friday arrived. Harold stable, recovering. Doctors said he'd make it, would need months of rehab. But he'd make it. Tommy stayed with Barbara, safe, loved, waiting. The courtroom filled again. Same players, different energy. Derek looked different, smaller, haunted. His father's near death had changed something fundamental. Judge Morrison entered. We'll proceed with closing arguments. Mr. Peterson. Peterson stood, but his heart wasn't in it. Derek had told him something, changed something. His closing was brief, factual, missing the aggression, the killer instinct. He sat down quickly. Judith stood, delivered a closing that would be taught in law schools. 15 minutes of pure legal devastation. Every point documented, every claim supported, every argument airtight. When she sat down, the courtroom knew. This was over. Judge Morrison looked at her notes, looked at Derek, looked at Annie. I've practiced law for 45 years, been a judge for 40. I've seen every custody case imaginable. This one is clear. Mr. Walsh, when is your son's birthday? Derek stood. July 14th. Who's his pediatrician? Dr. Martinez. His favorite food? Derek hesitated. I don't know. The judge nodded. Mrs. Walsh, same questions. Annie stood. July 14th, Dr. Robert Martinez, macaroni and cheese, homemade. Every Sunday, he likes it with extra cheese and breadcrumbs on top. The judge closed her file. Here's what I see. A mother who knows her son, a father who knows his lawyer's number. Mrs. Walsh, your home is unconventional, but unconventional isn't dangerous. You saved a life, taught your son compassion, built a community. Those veterans aren't criminals. They're heroes. Mr. Walsh, you have rights as a father, but you haven't earned custody. Motion denied. Mrs. Walsh retains full custody. She paused. Let that sink in. Furthermore, Mr. Walsh, you owe $9,600 in back child support. You have 30 days to pay in full. Failure will result in contempt charges. Court is adjourned. The gavel fell. Annie couldn't breathe, couldn't move. Then Judith pulled her up, hugged her. You won. Tommy's yours. Forever. The courtroom erupted. Bikers cheering, Barbara crying, Cole smiling from the back row. A rare, genuine smile that transformed his face. Derek sat at his table, alone, his lawyer packing up, walking away. He looked at Annie, really looked. Saw what he'd thrown away, saw what he'd become. And something in him broke, or maybe healed. Hard to tell the difference sometimes. He approached Annie. She tensed, but he held up his hands. Surrender. I'm not here to fight. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. For being the worst version of myself. For making this about money when it should have been about Tommy. Derek, let me finish. Please. My dad almost died, and I realized I've wasted so much time being angry, being selfish, being everything he didn't raise me to be. His voice cracked. I want to be in Tommy's life, not for money, not for show, for real, because he's my son and I've missed too much already, but only if you'll let me, on your terms, when you're ready. Annie studied him, saw genuine regret, saw the beginning of change. Maybe. Pay your child's support. Show up consistently for 6 months. Then we'll talk about visitation. I can do that. I will do that. He walked away, smaller somehow, but maybe on the path to becoming bigger. Time would tell. The weeks passed. Harold recovered, slowly. Physical therapy, cardiac rehab. Annie visited daily, brought Tommy. They played cards with the old detective. Listened to his stories, built more memories. Derek paid the back support, all of it, then started sending regular payments. On time, every time. He called Annie once a week, just to ask about Tommy, not demanding, just asking, learning to be present from a distance. The diner renovation began. Cole managed it. Barbara funded it. Together, they transformed Betty's Diner into something that honored the past while embracing the future. New kitchen, expanded seating, but the old recipe cards stayed on the wall. The old counter stayed. The heart remained. Bear and Emma reconciled. He moved to Pine Ridge, took a job at the local garage. They had dinner every Sunday, building what they'd lost, healing what had been broken. 3 months after the trial, on a quiet Tuesday evening, Annie and Cole stood in the empty diner. Renovation nearly complete, just the two of them. The first time they'd been truly alone since that Christmas Eve. Cole, there's something I need to say. He turned, waited, patient as always. That day in court, when you said you had feelings for me, I didn't know what to say. I was scared. Still am, honestly. But I've been thinking about what Harold said, about life being too short for maybes. And I realized you've been here every single day for 3 months, helping, protecting, never asking for anything, just being present. She took a breath. I'm not ready for anything serious. I'm still healing, still learning to trust again. But I'd like to try, slowly, if you're willing to wait. Cole's face transformed, joy and relief in something that looked like hope. I've waited 29 years to feel like I belong somewhere. I can wait a little longer for you to be ready. Annie stepped closer, touched his face, then kissed him. Gentle, tentative, the beginning of something fragile and precious. When they pulled apart, Cole was smiling, that rare, genuine smile. Was that a yes to dinner? That was a yes to possibilities. Dinner's a good start. They held each other, two broken people beginning to heal, two strangers who had become family, two souls finding home. 1 month later, on a bright August afternoon, a woman walked into Betty's Diner. 68 years old, gray hair, elegant but worn. She carried a thick folder, the kind that holds years of searching, years of pain, years of hope that refused to die. "Excuse me," she said to Annie. "I'm looking for Cole Bennett. Is he here?" Annie called him. He came from the kitchen, wiping his hands on a towel, saw the woman. Froze. "Mom?" Carol Bennett's face crumbled. "Cole, my baby, my boy, you are alive." Understanding it hit Annie like lightning. Cole's mother, the one he thought abandoned him, the one who thought he was dead. Found after 29 years. Cole couldn't move, couldn't speak, just stared. Carol opened the folder. "I need you to see this. Need you to know I never stopped looking, never stopped believing." She showed him everything. 30 years of investigation, every foster home tracked, every name change documented, court records, photos, DNA tests, the death certificate that was fake, the grave that was empty, 3 decades of detective work by a mother who refused to believe her son was gone. "They told me you died. August 14th, 1996, foster care accident. I went to the funeral, buried an empty casket, but something felt wrong. So I became a private investigator. Spent 30 years tracking you, every lead, every dead end, every moment of my life looking for you." Cole took the folder, hands shaking, looked through it, saw his entire childhood mapped out, saw the love, the determination, the mother who never quit. "I thought you didn't want me," he whispered. "I wanted you every single day, every single moment. You were my only child, my everything, and they stole you from me. But I found you. I finally found you." Cole collapsed into her arms. 29 years of pain, of loneliness, of believing he was unwanted, all washing away in one embrace. They held each other, mother and son, lost and found. Annie watched, crying, knowing she was witnessing a miracle. Carol stayed in Pine Ridge, rented a small house, got to know her son again. Slowly, carefully, building what had been stolen. Annie and Carol became friends. Two mothers who understood loss, who understood love. November arrived, cool air, falling leaves, the diner thriving, Tommy turning 6, Harold fully recovered, Derek visiting once a month, consistent, present, earning back what he'd lost. On Thanksgiving, Cole proposed. Simple, honest, in the diner where they met, where everything began. Annie Walsh, you taught me what home means, what family feels like. Will you marry me? Annie said yes. Tommy cheered. Harold cried. Carol hugged them both. The angels, those who remained, celebrated. They married on December 24th, 1 year to the day after the angels arrived, in the diner. Where else? Harold officiated, recovered, proud. Tommy carried the rings, didn't drop them. Hammer stood as best man. Judith as maid of honor. Barbara and Carol cried together. The ceremony was simple, the words genuine. Harold spoke about doors, about the ones we close from fear, about the ones we open from love, about how one woman's choice to open her door had changed hundreds of lives. Do you, Annie, take Cole to be your husband? I do. Do you, Cole, take Annie to be your wife? I do, forever. Then by whatever power exists in this universe that brings broken people together and makes them whole, I pronounce you husband and wife. Cole, kiss your bride before she changes her mind. Cole kissed Annie, long, deep, the kind of kiss that promises everything. The reception lasted until midnight. Depression fritters served, stories told, laughter shared. Derek came, brought Tommy a gift, a baseball glove. Thought maybe we could play catch sometime, if that's okay. Annie nodded, that would be good. 5 years passed. Betty's Diner became legendary, featured in magazines, documentaries, but stayed true to itself. Annie and Cole ran it together. Tommy, now 11, helped after school, learning to cook, learning the recipes that had fed generations. Bear and Emma opened a second location, father and daughter, partners. Harold visited every Sunday, older now, slower, but still sharp, still teaching Tommy about being a man. Derek kept his promise, visited twice a month, paid support, became the father he should have been. Not perfect, but present. Sometimes that's enough. Carol worked as a consultant, helping other parents find lost children. Her 30-year search became her life's mission, giving others what she'd finally found. The Hells Angels made Betty's Diner their official rest stop. Hammer visited monthly, brought brothers, brought hope. The Kindness Seeds program went national, helped 2,000 families, all because one woman opened a door. On December 24th, 5 years after that night, Annie stood on the diner porch at 2:47 a.m., the exact time the bikers had arrived. Snow falling gently, no storm, just peace. Cole joined her, put his arm around her waist. Can't sleep? Just remembering 5 years ago, this moment, I was terrified, had $9, no power, no heat, no hope. And then you opened the door, and everything changed. They stood together, watching snow fall. Inside, their daughter slept, Elizabeth Carol Bennett, 3 years old, named for both grandmothers. Beautiful, loved, safe. Tommy was upstairs, 11 now, still wise beyond his years, still kind, still believing the best in people. Harold's truck sat in the lot, staying for Christmas, Carol's car beside it, Barbara's Mercedes, the family they'd built, not from blood, but from choice. A sound broke the silence. Distant, familiar, growing louder. Motorcycles. Annie smiled. Hammer, coming for Christmas breakfast. Some traditions never end. You know what I learned that night? Annie said softly. What? That kindness isn't complicated. It's just a choice. Every day, every moment, fear or love, closed door or open door. Cole kissed her temple. You chose love, and love chose me back every single time. The motorcycle appeared. Single headlight cutting through snow. Hammer dismounted. Saw them on the porch. Waved. They waved back. Family. Annie closed her eyes. Felt her mother's presence. Betty, watching, smiling, proud. I did it, Mama. I used the recipe, and it fed more than just stomachs. It fed souls. Cole held her closer. Ready to go inside? It's cold. In a minute. I just want to remember this. The peace, the gratitude, the knowing that we're exactly where we're supposed to be. We're home. Yeah, we're home. They stood a moment longer, then walked inside. To warmth, to family, to the life they'd built from $9 in faith and the decision to open a door when everyone else closed theirs. The angels had come home, and home had opened its arms and said welcome. And love had won, the way it always does, when we're brave enough to choose it. The end.